Hey, friends, welcome back to the 𝗪𝗲𝘂𝗋𝗋 podcast. Since it's New Year's Eve, which is all about fresh beginnings, I thought today we'd talk about heading back to school after winter break. January is the perfect time for a fresh start and a little mid-year reset. And I think that there's 4 things that you definitely want to do during that first week back to school. So let's talk about what those are. All right. The first thing that you want to do that first day back to school is to begin to rebuild your classroom community. Kids are going to be excited to see each other after that long break. Some of them may have been able to get together with a friend, but others might not have seen any of their friends for 2 weeks, and so they miss each other. So they're for sure going to want to talk and catch up, and so you definitely want to build in some time to let them do that at the start of the day. I think it's a good idea on that first day back to have something for the kids to work on at their seat, as they come in, just to kind of keep it regulated on that very first day back. So you could have maybe some Play-Doh or morning tubs, or even just a New Year's coloring sheet, honestly. Let the kids sort of visit at their tables as everybody's trickling in. And then once all the kids are there, have a welcome back activity of some sort for the kids to do together. I used to do an activity in my room that I called Time to Find a Friend, where I gave each of the kids a clipboard and a sheet of paper that was divided into 12 squares. The paper had different activities on it that the kids might have done at home over winter break. Stuff like played in the snow, drank hot chocolate, watched a movie, or played with a new toy. There was all different kinds of things. So the kids could sort of wander around the room and look for friends who had done some of these different activities over break. And the goal was to try to find somebody for each square on their sheet. But also, it gave them a chance to move around and visit and kind of chat with their friends about some of the things they did during winter break. All right, another way you can sort of start to rebuild your classroom community is by having kids share some of the things that they did while they were at home. When you meet at the carpet for your morning meeting, you can have some sharing cards with simple questions on them that you can ask either the group or individual kids. I kept my sharing cards in a little tin that I found at the Dollar Tree, and it had snowflakes all over it and stuff. And so it sort of looked like winter and getting ready to come back to school in January. And it had questions on it like, did you play any games over winter break? Or what was one really good movie that you watched over break? I had a whole stack of cards. And so every day for a few days after we got back to school, I'd ask a question and pick a few kids to answer. These are the things that they're dying to talk about, right? So when you give them a chance to tell you what they're thinking, they sort of get it all out of their system, and then they're ready to get down to work when it's time. All right. The second thing you definitely want to do when you get back to school after winter break is to review your classroom rules and expectations. After a 2-week break, kids are definitely going to forget stuff, and taking time to review those routines is important. It's going to help you keep your classroom management on point right from the start. So meet the kids at the door on that first day back to school, and after you say hello to them, make sure to remind them what the morning routine is. Remind them to hang up their coat and backpack, turn in their daily folder, wash their hands, whatever your routines are. They're going to get back into the swing of things pretty quickly, but if you're standing there at the door reminding them, that's really helpful. Also, every time you go to transition to something new, remind them how to do it. When it's time to come to the carpet, take a minute and say, remember to push your chair in and walk to the carpet. Or when it's time to line up to leave the classroom, remind them how to line up quietly and what your hallway expectations are. Quick reminders are usually all you need, but it's really necessary because your kids are probably really excited to be back to school, and they're not thinking about classroom expectations and rules. So head that trouble off before it happens by reviewing all your rules and your expectations. So that means everything: cafeteria, recess, hallway, everything. I had my class play a little New Year's pocket chart activity that I called Fizzle or Sparkle. There were 2 header cards that said just that. Sparkle were the rules that we should follow, and Fizzle were the things that we shouldn't do. And so I'd put the headers in the chart and pass out a bunch of little cards to the kids that had different rules or scenarios on them. And the kids would read the card out loud, and then they'd decide if it was a rule that they should follow or not. Put it under the correct heading in the chart. The cards said stuff like, walk quietly in the hallway, or raise your hand before speaking, or it might have said something like make a mess at your table, stuff like that. So it gave us a chance to talk about those things if we needed to, and it was a good reminder of what was expected of them in our classroom. All of these activities are part of my New Year Classroom Kickoff, which is sort of a back-to-school toolkit that I have on TPT, and you can grab it at @𝘆ciland.com/kickoff, or I'll put the link in the show notes too. All right, the third thing that you want to do with your class when you get back from winter break is to set a few goals. You're at the point in the school year where things are going to start to get a little tougher in terms of content. You're really going to want to buckle down and try to get these kids reading and writing. You want them to be able to add, subtract, measure, and tell time in math. Plus, you want their behavior to be in check and for kids to be doing what they're supposed to be doing instead of fooling around or causing chaos. So a good thing to do is to talk to your class about where you're headed in the last half of the school year. Let them know the kind of books that they're going to be reading, the kinds of writing that they're going to be doing. Give them a picture of what's to come so that they'll be expecting it. No more simple CVC words in reading and labeling pictures and writing, Show them some of the books you're going to be using. Talk to them about the different types of writing they might be working on. Same thing in math. Show them a clock and tell them how they're going to be learning to tell time, or have a handful of money and tell them how you're going to be showing them how to count money and use it to buy things. Just sort of talk about what's coming up in the next few months. Then you can talk to them about setting some goals for the rest of the year. When I was doing this with my class, I liked to read the book Squirrel's New Year's Resolution by Pat Miller. It's a really cute book about how all the animals are setting their goals or, their resolutions for the year. And Squirrel just doesn't know what his should be. So he visits all of his different friends to find out what their resolutions were. And then along the way, he's helping each one of them begin to reach their goal. So in the end, Squirrel realizes that his resolution was to help other people. It's a really cute book and sort of shows kids how they can set a goal too. So after we read the book, we'd sort of brainstorm together as a class and talk about what we thought some of our classroom goals should be. Things like keeping our room neat or helping our friends, stuff like that. And then after we finished working on our classroom goals, I'd have the kids go back to their seat, and I had a cute little writing template that they could use to write a couple of their own goals for that last half of the school year. So having your kids think about their own goals and sort of being aware of where they're headed is a good way to help them stay on track and also be prepared for what's to come. Hey teacher friends, are you ready to use read alouds more intentionally, but you're not sure where to start? I've got you covered. Join my free Winter Read Aloud Challenge, a 4-week experience with simple weekly ideas, mini podcast episodes every Monday morning, fun freebies, book suggestions, and a supportive Facebook group with weekly giveaways. Sign up at 𝘆ciland.com/challenge. The fun begins January 5th, so sign up today and make read alouds the easiest part of your day. And then the final thing that I always liked to do when my kids got back from winter break was a little writing reflection of their winter break. It sort of had two purposes for me. For one thing, I really liked having them get some writing practice in right away. But I also liked being able to see what they had to say about their winter break. Not every kid's life is all sunshine and rainbows at home. And so when they write about how things went during their break, you can get a little glimpse into what's happening at home and how they're feeling. So I had a little flip book that the kids would make about their winter break. I think there were 5 pages, and they'd write about their favorite thing they ate, a fun game they played, their favorite show that they watched on TV, their favorite thing they did over break, and then how they felt over winter break. These writing prompts might seem really simple, but they can tell a lot about a kid. If they say they didn't play any games, or if they say they loved playing some video game like Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty, well, it can give you a little glimpse into why they might have some aggressive behavior in class. Or the movies they watched are the same. If they're telling you that they watched, Return to Derry on HBO, it's like, whoa, because that show is very explicit and super inappropriate for young kids. Hopefully they're going to write that they played with Legos or Barbies and watched 𝗵𝗶. That's not the reality for lots of kids. And so It's good for you to be aware of that. So having them write about what they did during their winter break can give you a little glimpse into their world. This little flip book that I'm talking about is also a part of my New Year's kickoff toolkit on TPT. So I'll put the link in the show notes in case you're interested in doing any of those activities with your class. So just to recap, as you head back to school next week, there's 4 things you want to do with your class. Rebuild your classroom connections, review your rules and expectations, set some goals for the last half of the school year, and do a little writing reflection about their winter break. Before we go today, I wanted to remind you that my free Winter Read Aloud Challenge starts next week on January 5th. It's just a fun little challenge to read one picture book each week during the month of January. I've chosen 4 really great winter-themed books, and each week I'm going to be releasing a mini Book Bite podcast episode on Mondays about the book of the week. And then when you sign up for the challenge, you're going to get a weekly freebie sent to your inbox that you can use with the book. Plus, we have a private Facebook group that you can join, and I'm going to be doing lots of fun giveaways in there all month long. I'm going to be giving away books and gift cards and some of my TPT resources, and it's all for free. I think it's going to be really fun and super motivating to read these books to your class. And hopefully, along the way, maybe you'll make some new teacher friends in our Facebook group or, find some new teachers to follow too. So you can sign up at 𝘵𝚀𝘂land.com/challenge. Okay, friends, that's it for this week. I hope you're having a great winter break and that you're feeling refreshed and ready to get started in the new year. Don't forget, I'll be doing double podcast episodes during the month of January on Mondays and Wednesdays, so be sure to watch for those. And until next time, remember to make learning feel like play, and I'll talk to you soon.